It's the RJ Ochoa Show on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. What's going on in Jerry's world? What's the latest from Cowboy Camp? Find out right here, Friday mornings at 7:30 and 9:30 with the manager and editor-in-chief of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Here's Robin Rudy.
It's R&R and RJ. Or should I just say it's the RJ Ochoa Show inside the R&R show? I would introduce him, but he seems to be busy. He's RJ Ochoa, the leader, the captain, the head so-and-so, the suit of Blogging the Boys, Rock the Mic champ, and good friend of ours. Hey, morning, RJ. Welcome aboard. Love the shirt.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here. Yeah, I'm in the C-suite, so I was just kind of taking care of some things off to the side over here.
You look busy.
Making sure the lights stay on, the water stays in the pipes, and that food stays in everybody's belly.
Absolutely.
It's your job and a husband. Hey, yesterday it was my first opportunity to hear from Brian Schottenheimer. We call him Shotty. Is that the name that you use?
Yeah.
We're not allowed to call him Shotty. Everybody cut it out. He's Coach Schottenheimer to us.
Say, given that his father had one of the longest tenured NFL coaching careers of all time, and that people called him Shoddy, it's been around. You know what I mean? You guys are kind of like, hey, what if we just call it, Nike? That's kind of, where you guys are at this point.
Well, when I first saw him, I go, you know what? I do recognize him. He has been around the Cowboys in their orbit for the last couple of years. I've seen him at training camps and practices. Didn't he work with the offensive line for a little bit? What's his progress to OC?
He an assistant.
That's offensive assistant.
A glorified title for a friend of the head coach. You never want to really kind of put things in those terms, but it's worth mentioning that his father did give Mike McCarthy his first ever coaching job in the NFL. So the Schottenheimer name is a really well-known one in NFL circles, obviously, and Brian's obviously had some success himself. As I fight off the sneeze, shout out to me right there, landed it perfectly. He's also had some lack of success that people kind of want to say is really who he is.
What is that? What is the lack of success that you're talking about?
Well, he was a part of the 2021 Jacksonville Jaguars in terms of most recent things. But I think we're all willing to kind of accept that team was kind of fighting with one hand tied behind their back. He was a part of the Seahawks in ways that were good and bad. The good was the let Russ cook phenomenon that kind of took over the NFL. But he was also the offensive coordinator against the Cowboys when Dallas beat Seattle in the 2018 wildcard round, when everybody was upset about how much the Seahawks ran the ball. He kind of took away the best years of Mark Sanchez's career with the New York Jets.
All right, you're depressing me. You're depressing me.
Well,
all right, enough bad news.
Well, the good news is that, again, all due respect to Brian Schottenheimer, a.k.a. Shoddy, he's the offensive coordinator in name, but this is Mike McCarthy's show. Everybody's
this is Eric Bieniemy 2.0.
Now, we'd like to trademark this, and we need your help. The Tex Coast offense. Not Texas Coast. It's too much. Too wordy. Too many syllables. Tex Coast.
Yeah, even Texas Coast is just kind of difficult to enunciate. For some reason, Tex Coast is better. It has like a Tex-Mex, guess, like word association. I loved that name. I thought it was super cool and funny. But Tex Coast is definitely cooler to me. It doesn't make sense in Dallas. Like if they were the Corpus Christi Cowboys, like maybe it makes a little bit more sense. But being located exactly where they are, like, what are you, the coast of? Like Oklahoma? Like there's no real coast there. You know what I mean?
Our state is on the water. That's enough, right?
That's true, but their city isn't.
You're just a beach snob. You're a Beach Valley snob. And just because we're far away, we can still claim the Gulf. Just because we're not on it like you.
You can. I have no issues with you guys claiming it, but Dak and Dallas is, a bit more of a stretch in a literal sense.
Dalvin Cook.
Rudy, Sweet
Cha-ching.
Rudy.
Cha-ching, get him.
I ain't gonna get wordy.
Get him.
I'm not gonna get wordy. I ain't gonna get wordy. He's probably gonna be cheap. Dalvin Cook.
I mean, would it be cool? Yeah, but
That's what I say.
Is it really necessary? No. It's like it's Friday night. I'm kind of hungry. I don't need a steak dinner. Yeah, I don't need a burger. I just need
but
like
a
bag
steak
of
would be
Cheetos,
good.
You know? I mean, I guess, but look. The Cowboys have already graduated beyond paying running back exorbitant amount of money. However, they are paying Tony Pollard $11 million in the franchise tag. So, I mean, we've been talking. It's like we don't want to bring Zeke back. I will totally say that Dalvin Cook is a superior player to Zeke. All due respect to Zeke, but no, I want to move. If you want to be the Tex Coast offense, you got to move the ball through the air. The Tex Coast offense isn't about. Maybe it is. That's why they kind of have dubbed it this. It isn't about ground and pound. This isn't, speaking of Corpus Christi, this isn't Phil Danaher in, whatever, his like 60 runs a game. And so we don't want that. I mean, you're good at the running back position. I can't wait to see where Dalvin winds up. This does have some level of interest. I mean, honestly, like you do have to kind of talk about it and think about it.
It will change a team for the better. There will be a team that'll be much more Super Bowl worthy when he lands there.
I suppose, especially if it is Miami. Denver is kind of like hit and miss. But the Cowboys, I think, are ultimately good. I'd rather, if you're playing the like, would you rather game, I would rather have DeAndre Hopkins because the quickest way to the end zone is through the air. That's my goal. I want to get airbound. That's I want up in the air. I want to move fast. I'm Ricky Bobby.
Well, then why don't you
hand the ball off 40 times a game?
Why don't you start blogging with the Chargers then? Because that boat's left. Okay, they're throwing 40 bombs to keep. This is a different type of offense, RJ. I need you to get on board.
I 100% disagree. I think the Chargers have, the Chargers have put on the light. Hey, Rudy, fasten your seatbelt because the descent is about to begin in LA. The Cowboys, meanwhile, have shed that. The Cowboys have.
Okay.
That's the Tex Coast offense. Like, yeah, they have some principles of running the ball, but they are gonna move go find any year that Mike McCarthy has called plays and find a team that was obsessed with running the ball. You can't. I mean, Mike McCarthy understands that when you have an elite quarterback, you've got to throw it. And look, Kellen Moore, obviously not against throwing the ball. And some of the reason the Cowboys haven't been able to truly challenge down the field has been, Michael Gallup was kind of their deep threat. He was coming off the injury last year.
Right.
And in 2021, Dak was coming off the injury. Like, the variables have been kind of weird and awkward. But this team is not going to sit around and wait. I would posit that Dak's going to have more attacking downfield than Justin Herbert. And that's not a Justin Herbert or Dak Prescott thing. That's a Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore thing.
At RJ Ochoa with Blogging the Boys. He's with us every Friday. Make sure you're catching him with us and following him on Twitter and reading Blogging the Boys. A couple things with the new offense. We heard from Zach Martin yesterday. And he talked about he mentioned the kind of collaborative thing between he and the offensive lineman and this new offense. He talked about the edge in the play calling, and McCarthy's kind of attitude has kind of changed as far as the way the offense looks. And then we heard from Schottenheimer talking about this collaborative idea. How much is the offensive line playing a role in this new offense, this Tex Coast offense? I'm going to keep using it till it sticks.
I think that's a good idea, first of all, but it's different being a primarily zone blocking team, zone running team, which is what the Cowboys have been forever. The only team who ran the ball more than the Cowboys last year was it was the Atlanta Falcons who drafted Bijan Robinson.
Say that again. Say that again. The only team that ran the ball more than the Dallas Cowboys was the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, and
wow.
I mean, that sounds, that's not a fair representation of what happened when you say it in just a volume sense like that. But as the season wore on, Cowboys got worse at running the ball in high pressure, high leverage situations. The Falcons weren't a good team, but that was just kind of their bread and butter. Look at Arthur Smith. That's
right.
Who lives on the ground. And so the Cowboys are going to be different. And so you've got to be kind of a different team in that sense. We really have Dak Prescott's rookie year, the team was all about the zone blocking scheme. That's why the Zeke Elliott pick was so fascinating, because he was kind of the perfect running back for that. And so we've seen him have moments of challenging things in an aerial way. Like now and I'm not saying that Dak's going to throw the ball 40 times a game, but
no,
I
that's
do
not
think
happening.
that they have, kind of veered away from that for whatever reasons they have found to be more logical or reasonable or whatever. But you have to be ready for that. I think that that's what they're doing. They didn't trade for Brandon Cooks to run the ball more. That's an important thing.
Hey, I'm in a gambling mood this morning, RJ. We're out live at a card house here in San Antonio, SA Card House. Would you bet money? I just asked Rob this before you came on, that Dak Prescott will throw less than 10 interceptions this season? Because I think that's the sweet spot. Between 7 and 10 is the sweet spot to have a quote-unquote great year for a quarterback.
First of all, I thought you lived at the card house based on your Instagram story.
I do live here.
I mean, I need you to give me a half, like 10.5, 9.5. That makes a difference.
See, you sound like Rob. Rob didn't want to touch it. RJ,
too low, man.
If he throws more than 10 interceptions, RJ, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish. This is your show.
Why? That's a silly statement. Like, what if he throws 11 interceptions, but 3 of them were in one game, and he threw 8 picks, or 8 picks in 16 other games? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that's why you can't say like, oh, the Cowboys ran the ball more than the Falcons. Like, again, when you say it in a volume sense like that, it doesn't tell you the whole story. What if you do 4 of them in one game? You know what I'm saying? Then the 11 is then you're like, oh, hell yeah, sign me up for the 11, because I'll bite the bullet on that one game, and you might even win that game, right? Like Tony Romo threw 5 picks on Monday Night Football in 2007
against the Chicago Bears.
It was against the Buffalo Bills. Good try, Rudy. That's why it's my show. Anyway, you could have a million interceptions in one single game and come back and stabilize across the rest of the season. So, I mean, give me a percentage like that. You need to apply it to a game-by-game basis. When you say it on the whole over this.
There's a couple things here. When we argue about interceptions, and even Schottenheimer relayed a story about Brett Favre when he was coaching him with I guess he was at the Jets when his early coaching, and talked about Favre coming off the field after throwing an interception, and Schotty's like, dude, there were 3 guys in there. What? Because no, man, I'm sorry, but I can make that throw. I remember getting in trouble one time for not picking up a personal foul in a basketball game. And that I got the coach literally lit me up because no fouls. That tells me you weren't even freaking trying. I mean, like, I thought I played I played defense without. Sometimes I don't mind my quarterback throwing an interception because he's trying to make a play, and I'll give him 5 of those this season.
That sounds crazy.
No, I want a guy who's going to try to make a play. The Brett Favre, the Aaron Rodgers. There's been a lot of bad balls that Aaron's thrown.
You take care of my ball.
And Pat Mahomes throws them too. Now, Brett's, certainly Dak's not in those categories, but I do want him trying to make a play, and I'll sacrifice a ball or 2 if he goes, dude, it was right there. Right there, and it didn't happen.
To Rob's point, in a philosophical sense, like, hell yeah, like I want that dude who's going to try to thread the needle. Like, Rudy, if you want to lay up, that's fine, but Rob and I are going for the green 10 out of 10 times. I mean, that's why your team will never win anything, because y'all are okay. Y'all are okay with mediocrity.
Gunslingers win things. They win. They win things.
So I agree that gunslingers win things, but more than that, your number isn't reasonable. Like, in general, do you know how many interceptions Justin Herbert threw last year?
I do not know, RJ, but I do know that they were up 27-0 and lost. So what are you talking about here?
This isn't counting the playoffs. He threw 10, and he threw 10 his rookie year. And he didn't
in other words, it don't mean anything.
Year, and he threw 15 in 2021. So my point is, like, 10 is incredibly low in general for a 17-game regular season. Like, we're not arguing like, oh, I want Dak to lead the league in interceptions because it means he's aggressive. Like, I'm just saying, like, I agree. Like, I want aggression for my quarterback, but 10 is just in general too low of like, there are very, very few quarterbacks I would take to not throw at least 10 interceptions, because you got to play 17 games. Like, and at the end of the day, football's weird. Like, weird crap happens. Like, speaking of Jacksonville, the team that came back to beat the Chargers, Dak threw one on the road in overtime that got tipped off of Noah Brown. Like, you're gonna put that one on his 10 count? You know, it counts. If you look at his stats today, and it's like, well, he threw 15 interceptions, but it's like that one's on Noah Brown. You know what I mean? So the 10, there's more than meets the eye to the 10 in the box score.
Mike McCarthy talked about theme. He didn't want to let us know what the theme would be, RJ. What would your theme be if you got to choose? What do you feel like the theme should be for the Dallas Cowboys this season?
Talking like the thing I'd put like on the tumblers and the T-shirts and the hoodies.
Yeah, all the merch that he's
like
gonna have.
Rob said, now or never, which I loved. What would yours be for the Cowboys? If there was a theme going into this season, what would your theme for the Cowboys be?
Now or never is too cliche. Sorry, Rob.
Wow.
The worst one, just to be clear, was Jason Garrett's 17 inches. Do you remember that one?
Oh my God. Phrasing.
That's
awful.
That was 17?
It was because a home plate in baseball is 17 inches wide. And it's 17 inches wide, Rudy, for everyone. No matter who you are, no matter how good of a hitter you are, the strike zone is the same. The rules are the same. It was so stupid. The Cowboys cut Lucky Whitehead over a case of mistaken identity on the first day of that training camp, just so we're fully clear on the context of the situation. For me, I mean, I think you put it's time. Like, and that sounds like a pressure sort of situation. But
that's
like,
trademarked, RJ. Time. You can't use that one.
I'm okay with. I'll pay the fine. I'm the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, you know, it's time, and it's been time. Like, so maybe you want to go with it's been time because, I mean, they did a lot of things. They did a lot of things last year that I believe they deserve credit for. And some of this is just the patheticness of the franchise of the last quarter century. But, you know, they won double-digit games for the second year, for 2 years in a row. They were a playoff team for 2 years in a row. They won a road playoff game. Like, they won a road playoff game for the first time since the 1992 NFC Championship game. Like, the things they did last year, while what I'm about to say is really sad, they are not normal for this team. It was this extracurricular level of accomplishment, and it happened despite the franchise quarterback missing 5 games, which was a hurdle that they had not been able to overcome in the same
RJ.
So
you know
they
what?
broke through those things.
This segment isn't long enough for me to even address. Like, it's like us, you know, giving these kids credit for graduating high school. You're supposed to. You're supposed to.
So
you're supposed to get into the playoffs. Why are you giving them credit?
What do you mean?
When Justin Fields throws for 4,
this is the Cowboys. We haven't seen playoffs in 25 years. What are you talking about?
RJ, man, you know what, dog? You lucky this segment's not longer because we would get into it because that is silly. You just get them 2 minutes of credit for winning a playoff game.
No, I said it was silly, and I'm like, my point is like that's why people should I wouldn't say adore, but be appreciative for Mike McCarthy because it's like Mike McCarthy came in and did the bare minimum thing that nobody before him had been able to do, and everybody wants to run this coach, this quarterback out of town when it's like the thing they did that is really sad to be an accomplishment, they still did. And Rudy, I know that when Justin Fields throws for 4,000 yards, you're going to act like it's this big old deal when everybody across the entire NFL has done it 1,000 times in NFL history. So let's not talk about low bars that we have to clear as NFL teams.
We'll talk about a low bar. We got a high one when we have RJ Ochoa come join us. Now, as training camp is imminent, we're about a month and a half out. The guys are heading to the 4 corners of the earth, celebrating and vacationing before they go back to work. What's the marching orders for the coaches and the staff? What needs to get done between now and Oxnard? Is it getting a kicker? Is there anything else? Any manpower you think they need to go get? What's their job other than, you know, preparing the plays and everything else before we see each other in Oxnard?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're kind of like a teacher. You know, you got to get the classroom ready. You got to get the syllabus ready because this is the last time you have. I mean, before that, right? Like, it sounds dramatic to put it that way, but once training camp starts, you deep breath underwater all the way through what you hope is the Super Bowl. And so you've got to take this time to think of everything. And Mike McCarthy is really, really good at that, again, despite criticism. And so you've got to rest. I mean, you know, it's a grind. It's a marathon. So you know, go to the beach, go to the Poconos, do whatever you want. More than anything, and this is more of a player thing, but don't make any news. We don't want to hear any of your names for any reasons over the next 6 to 7 weeks. just be completely and totally invisible.
It was a harsh joke, but I said yesterday, I literally would have called Kelvin Joseph up if I was Mike McCarthy and said, don't be this guy. When you leave, come back in a month and a half and don't be riding around in cars with buddies that do drive-bys. That's what I would have done. And that's harsh. That's harsh. But sometimes when you're an adult, you need harsh realities. And that's what I would have done. And you gotta do better, man. Like, oh, well, my team sucks, but your team sucks worse. Cowboy fan, you got to do better. That's y'all's mantra. You got to do better. You're better than that, RJ. This is your show, and that's all you got is Bears jokes. Be better.
Be better. Bears jokes are so easy.
I mean, they're the final breath of the days of Indian points I make. I mean, like, if I can come up with a clever cherry on top, I don't think that's a demerit against me.
As you should. You have your own show inside of ours.
Yeah, I mean, on the Kelvin thing, even if we just kept the football, I mean, dude, you're a second-round pick, and right now there's a sixth-round rookie who looks better on the outside than you do. Like, you're watching your NFL career again. Even if we just keep it a football, you're watching your NFL career slip away. You're about to be that nickel corner that nobody wants to be. Like, you're about to be that special teams guy, and maybe you'll convince yourself that that's what you want, and maybe you ultimately will come to love it. But once upon a time, you came in and you were the big ticket. You were the thing. You were the deal. Everybody was going to believe in you. You were the future. And 2 years have come and gone, and you've made really no impact except for a negative one. So, in a way, Kelvin Joseph really is kind of the Bears of the Cowboys. If you assigned like a franchise value to every single player, he'd be the Chicago Bears.
That's like poetry coming from a poet's mouth. He is RJ Ochoa. All of his stuff on Blogging the Boys. Make sure you're following him there and everywhere else. RJ, have yourself a fine weekend, and we will talk to you next.
Thanks, guys. Love you all. Mike Ditka is most known for being a Cowboys tight end and nothing else.
There you have it. hosting a great cigar party.